Hello, everybody. It is Conor. It is One Leeds. We're back with the first episode of the debrief, and I think it's about 2 weeks now. Listen, schedules get in the way, don't they? But we're back here with a full roster, as Gabe would say. Oscar is going to be joining us in about 10 to 12 minutes, I think he said, which is nice and precise for Oscar. But we're going to get into the thick of it right now with Brownie and Gabe. We've got a lot of things to discuss. So make sure you're staying tuned for this one. You can also watch this back on the replay. You can join the channel memberships as we go, everyone. I will read you out. There's also been 2 Patreon podcasts recorded today. Check on that one now. Generation Leeds is out and available for you guys. There's merchandise available in the link in the description below as well. And if you want to just hit the thanks button with the 3 dots in the section below, you can do if you just want to make a one-off donation. We'll just get a couple of your comments in before we kick off. Good evening, Conor. Good evening, all. Hello. Evening, all from Bridlington, the Kingdom of Brid. Evening from a Baltic Pontefract, or as I like to call it, Ponte Carlo. And without any further ado, Gabe, Brownie, do you like that one, Brownie? How are we all doing?
Great. Yeah, nice away day. Nice to win a game away from home. Can't complain.
Yeah, I'm going to complain.
I'm really looking forward to hearing Gabe wax lyricals about Patrick Bamford. That is going to be the highlight of my night.
You should have heard him on the podcast, mate. He was just contradicting himself. He was going back on what he said. It's pretty embarrassing from Gabe's standpoint, really.
Our Leeds fans are some of the smartest in the world, and they'll tell you right now, listening to this, that they see what you're doing, Conor. They see how you set me up with a word that you say and I don't say, roster. They see the discrimination happening right now, the pile on.
No link
at all. We have a smart fan base, notoriously. They'll see it.
Ossic new managers, yeah. Congratulations to Brownie, obviously.
Managers. Brownie, you appoint me your assistant. Now that would be
cool. Oh, Jesus. Imagine that. Imagine that. I would say that Brownie, you would be the last option for Brownie to hire as an assistant manager, I reckon.
Maybe Brownie wants a data and analytics guy.
The thing for me is we struggled with naming championship away grounds. He's going to have no idea where we're.
I will have absolutely no clue. Brownie, where are we playing today? Mallorca. You're like, that's not even in
Cleethorpes tomorrow, Gabe. Any idea on Cleethorpes? Do you know where Cleethorpes is?
Of course I don't. What and why should I? Why should I have any concept as to where that poor unfortunate place is?
Brownie, who did you play at the weekend?
I don't want to go. I don't want to get in. Stockton. Do you know where Stockton is?
Gabe, Stockton.
Stockton. It's a suburb in California. Where the Diaz brothers are from.
I knew you were going to say now. It's certainly in a suburb in California. It was in Middlesbrough, mate. There was it couldn't have been any opposite to California.
Hit the North says Ossic lad here. Shout out Brownie. Good to hear. How was the stream? How's the storm there, Gabe? Had 18 inches in Monroe, New Hampshire. Lol, I know it's a joke there. I think
7 inches, an average snowfall here.
Yeah, and Gabe is very used to that. Okay, right. Let's get into it.
The abuse, man. It's just abuse, isn't it? You see what I endure every day. All right, go on.
Right,
let's get into it. Let's start fighting. Come on, Brownie. Come at me with this Patrick Bamford stuff. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, I don't think I really need to say anything. I think
I'm just going to put myself on mute for a sec.
Yeah, go on.
I said it about a month ago on this show, and I got slaughtered in the comments. Away from home, we need a Bamford leading the line. And I mean, I even taking his goal out of it, he just holds up the ball. I think the goal was a massive confidence boost to him. But after he scored, everything was one touch. He was keeping the ball. He was bringing other people into play. And he does have that in him, doesn't he? He goes through streaks of not scoring for ages, but then when he gets 1 or 2, he goes on a bit of he's a massive confidence player, isn't he? Which is probably why Conor's right. Years ago when we played behind closed doors, he was at his best because he's not getting the stick and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, you can't take the goal away. I mean, the Puskas goal of the year. Got to be.
What a strike it was. And look, I know that we're going to talk about the larger team performance later on, winning 2 in a row and what it means to beat a team that's managed by Wayne Rooney on a downturn form, and then Peterborough being in a lower division. This has nothing to do with that. Strike goes in against any team, against any keeper in the world. It's a fantastic strike. It's one of the best you'll see. And nobody, whether or not you think that Patrick Bamford's going to be good for a season without getting injured or having a kind of roller coaster dip in form, nobody should be disgruntled when a striker puts a goal like that in the back of the neck. net and has the outings he's had in the last 2 matches. Here's what I'll say about Patrick Bamford. If we're going to play Farke's system without a lot of tactical flexibility, which is what we're going to do, right? As long as he's our manager, that's what we're going to do. And if he's only going to play Yoel Piroe in the 10, which it seems that's all he's going to do, he's not going to let him play more advanced and pull back Jorginho. You have to say it's a limited data size, but you have to say it looks so much better. We're much more dynamic with Bamford playing that advanced role and Jorginho withdrawn. I don't think that's disputable. We've had a lot of data to show us, a lot of eyes on Piroe playing more withdrawn. I don't know why you do it. If you want to hear my rantings and ravings about that, go onto the Patreon where we talked about it in the podcast. But the reality is, you're right. We should go with Bamford for the time being and see what we can get out of this run of form. I am, of course, hesitant to put all of our trust in him because he's very, very injury prone. And he does have, as you mentioned, very streaky form that's confidence based. That said, though, you can't deny 2 matches, 2 goals. You keep going with the hot hand, and we do look better as a team in terms of our ability to create clear-cut chances throughout a match. And Piroe, I didn't even realize he was playing against Peterborough. I mean, I did.
92% of the comment section just put a poll in there. 92 are saying start Bamford against Cardiff.
And I think that's right.
Overwhelming.
Do you know what the other part of me is thinking for that as well is Rutter was so good in that Birmingham game.
Yeah.
He was so good getting the ball in deep positions, running it from the left, right, centre. He can't do that when he's down the middle. And I feel that when he's down the middle, we're losing so much that Rutter can do. Yes, he's got great numbers, but it's crazy to think his numbers can be even better playing in a deeper role.
Yeah. I don't know, but Brownie, why wouldn't you? We've seen Piroe play more advanced twice with Jorginho, and they've looked very good doing it. And most of the time he's just playing withdrawn. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand why you sign a guy for this money who plays this certain type of way and then try to force him to play differently.
Is Piroe in that deeper role puts more of a shift in defensively.
We're reaching, aren't we?
Do you think it, Brownie?
Have you ever seen it on the edge of our box?
I think when he's in that midfield, when he's a 10, when he's putting that number 10 Piroe, I think invariably you get Ampadu and Kamara getting outnumbered.
Yep.
I think we saw that against Borough, and I think we saw that against Swansea.
I'm not saying he does a good job defensively. I'm just saying he does a more
okay, I see what you're saying.
Than Rutter. That's my only reason I can think of. But you're right to highlight, obviously, Bamford's injury record. And he might be doing well now. He could be injured by the end of the window. It's a gamble. But for the time being, especially away from home, out of the 13 away league games, we've not scored in 6. Something's got to change away from home. And
I agree.
Again, he played at Peterborough, set the Ampadu goal up. I mean, the control from Ampadu's diagonal ball, 60-yard diagonal ball across the field is ridiculous, let alone the finish. So he's just more of a battering ram up there for me. Is there better out there? Yeah. Are the club going to go out and buy that? I don't believe so.
Let's ask him again. Would you have Chris Wood? No, I'm just kidding. Don't I?
Brownie, if they were, and I'll put it to both of you here. Daniel's just said, I think for me, it's Bamford up front with Rutter in the 10, but I'm with Conor long term. I think we need a better 9. Shout out to Kyle as well, who's joined the memberships. But if there was a guarantee that Leeds United would go out and get a number 9 this window, would you sell Patrick Bamford?
I wouldn't sell him because I think we're light in that area anyway. Gelhardt ain't going to do it for me as a 9. And there's Mateo Joseph that keeps coming on there. But
you didn't like what you said. He just right out.
When he said Gelhardt wasn't going to do it, and he's done one. He didn't like that.
Angry.
But yeah, I wouldn't sell Bamford. But Bamford's not really played much this season, so he might be happy to be playing his bit part. I doubt it, but he may be happy to just be playing. You all right, Con?
I don't know what happened there, mate. I think it was that shout.
So angry at the mention of Joe Gelhardt not making it through.
Big fan of Gelhardt. I mentioned Gelhardt not doing it, and you vanished.
I think the problem with Gelhardt is as well. Obviously, it looks like the Glaswegian clubs are battling it out for him at the minute. Potentially could.
Oh, what in the world is going on with this guy today?
Doesn't like Gelhardt. Doesn't like
He doesn't. Brownie, I agree with you. Here's my thing. there are only, and I don't want to get bogged down to the FFP and all this kind of stuff again. There are only so many transactions you can make, and you don't want to overload your side, especially because we'll be losing 10 players off the books at the end of the season probably. You want to give yourself some flexibility in the offseason, and then if you go up a division, you don't want to be bogged down with championship contracts, right? So we're not going to be able to get a Premier League level striker. It's likely. Also, if we get reinforcements during the transfer window, you would like them to be in the wide parts of the defense and maybe shoring up center half, because it seems that we have some issues there.
I mean, at the weekend, I don't know what people think, but we made their two wingers look like Ronaldo and Messi. Honestly, the amount of times they got in behind our fullback, both sides, by the way, behind Shackleton and behind Farke, was frightening. The amount of times
there seems to be this weird binary thing, right? If you say that Archie Gray isn't the best option at right back, shouldn't be the best option at right back for a club like Leeds United, it's as if you're saying to people that that he's no good. I mean, he's a 17-year-old who's filled in, but the point is, and he's filled in admirably, but the point is, you don't, for a team contending hopefully for a top 2 position, you don't want to be forcing square pegs into round holes. Why do we keep doing this in the defensive positions? It's what gets us in trouble year after year.
Yeah, I totally agree. It just seems that we can never have anything nice. I mean, the whole Jed Spence debacle, he was playing left back, the whole situation about his attitude, blah, blah, blah. But if you've got a right back, playing right back rather than playing a 17-year-old centre midfielder right back. Don't get me wrong, he's done a great job at right back. Yeah, there's been goals that could be pushed his way, but there could be goals that could be pushed a lot of people's way. Melier, Strike, everybody's culpable of mistakes this season, but I think it was nice to see Archie Gray back in midfield at the weekend. Personally,
it was, and it would solve a lot of problems with rotation and fatigue if we were able to see Archie Gray getting into these matches at midfield more often. I'm not saying he's done enough or is quite along yet in his development to be displacing, Glenn Kamara just yet, because I guess he'd be the more advanced of the dual pivot. But putting him in a position out wide where he's going to have some matches where he's very good and other matches where he's spun about by wily wingers, I just don't think is best. When I just look at the side and the players we have, is that the best way to deploy our resources? My answer is no. But
the other thing on that as well, when you were saying about the Bamford injury record, is he playing hide and seek?
I don't know. I think he is.
Yeah. Right. But the same thing can be put towards Farke as well. He's played a couple of games. But every time he goes down, you think, oh my God, is he going to be out for 4 or 5 weeks? He'll play for the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then he'll be out for another month. And it's just not sustainable to carry players like that. That's where I am. We don't seem to ever really. I mean, Rodon's on loan. We don't really seem to ever buy defenders. The only ones of recent note are Coquelin and Rober, and they're all out on loan. The defensive units, players that we're using, Cooper been here since about 2014, 2015. Shackleton, youth team player. And Strike, youth team player. We've never really seemed to go into the market defensively and it work out. But when we think to the Championship side, Ben White, loan player, there needs to be some movement in that area for me. Evening, Oscar. Connor's playing hide and seek.
I know. I noticed this. How are we, lads? You okay?
Yeah, we're good. Connor just sent a message that his camera's... Yeah, Connor's camera's blown. He wants us to keep going in the discussion. Oscar, since you're first in, we're talking about fullbacks here. Wait, let's get to a super chat. I can't highlight it because hi, Connor. This is Brownie is talking 100. Gabe is a square peg. We actually agree, Daniel. What do you want about? I agree, though. I am a square peg. Oscar, talk to us a little bit about. Look, I know your heart is especially broken about Jed Spence. We're not going to get back into the minutia of the back and forth, but it does seem like once again we're in another transfer season where we're short in the wide positions in the defense. Talk to us a little bit about. There's been a lot of discourse about Archie Gray, 17-year-old playing there. Should we go out and sign another right back? Luke Ayling seems to have given his goodbye away against Peterborough. Talk to us about kind of what you expect or what you want to see Leeds doing in the market. And do you think they will? I mean, because hearing Farke talk seems like we're filled with depth.
Yeah, I mean, surely we're going to do something at right back, you'd think. If Ayling's going, Spence is already gone, you'd think we'd have to surely, just for numbers, be getting a body in at right back. Whether, Farke thinks that Gray's the option, going forward or not, surely we are going to sign a right back. And obviously, people like Conor Roberts are mentioned. Again, listen, Jed Spence is a quality player. I'm not going to, change my opinion on that. He's a fantastic player at this level. But was he right for this team? It doesn't look like he was, in terms of, how quickly we've kind of got rid of him. The fact that, we've done it within half a season, it suggests to me that, Farke maybe never really trusted him.
It's definitely not right for Farke, was it? Yeah.
Whether it's tactically or personality-wise, who knows what caused it. But whatever it was, Jed Spence clearly wasn't right for Leeds United. But look at people like Conor Roberts, good experience at this level. Nico Williams, also good experience at this level. They're nowhere near as good as Jed Spence. But listen, they might suit more what we need, intense defenders. That was the one thing about Jed Spence was he did lack that little bit of intensity. Roberts, is going to be bang on, aggressive, bit like Joe Rodon on that right-hand side. Maybe that's a bit more of what Daniel Farke wants from his team, but I'd imagine we surely are going to sign a right back. At some point we're going to sign a right back. In terms of what Archie Gray gives you, I think he gives you everything you want on the ball, in terms of a right back, but defensively, we've still got to improve defensively. And I think long term he's not going to be a right back. So for me, I'd like to see us get into the market. I think we are going to get into the market. A Conor Roberts or a Nico Williams would be a massive yes from me. And yeah, it's a bit of a drop-off quality-wise, but I still think we're good enough with that back four, to go up. Left back's a different situation. Obviously, Firpo, I think he's played the last 2 games now. We've kept 2 clean sheets. Is it down to Firpo? Probably not. Let's be totally honest about it. But it looks like, Byram is the first choice, but Byram's, he plays 1 game, injured, plays the next game, injured. I think Byram's been fine performance-wise. So, I think when you look at the actual performances, he's been consistently 7, 8 out of 10. But I think surely left back might be a position where we're doing something there as well. Obviously, Doig's been mentioned, Josh Doig. Who knows? But
we do.
I think certainly right
Brownie,
back.
Jump in with what you're going to say.
The fullbacks are. I mean, I agree. Firpo's played the last 2 games. He'll be injured by the end of the month. He's made out of Play-Doh. And honestly, him and Shackleton. I don't know what you think, Oscar. They made their wingers look like world beaters at the weekend.
Yeah.
Both of them just kept rinsing them. The Ayling one, he's gone for the reaction.
Yeah.
So at the full-time whistle, Cooper sprinted straight across to Ayling, arms around him, consoling him. It was the same reaction that Click got when he had done his last game. He came towards the crowd. Everybody noticed that. He got pushed towards the crowd on his own. The fans were going Ayling's song, and then Cooper was cheerleading it, making it go louder and louder. Ayling's gone for me. From the reaction that I saw at Peterborough, Ayling's played his last game.
But do we think Farke... My question is not whether we think, because everybody unanimously thinks that we should sign depth. Hearing Farke talk, it makes me think, and maybe this is just smoke and mirrors. It could be that we wouldn't be the only manager to do this, but he sort of gives me the impression that he thinks if he has a Shackleton fit, an Archie Gray, and then Byram and Firpo, that's enough at the right and left back positions. I certainly don't think that, but is there any scenario where we think that's what Daniel Farke thinks?
I mean, he's not going to come out in a press conference as a manager, and he got a lot of stick last week saying he's not panicking, it's not an issue. He's not going to come out in a press conference and say, "Oh my God, we are really struggling at fullback. We need 2 in." That's not going to happen. It just isn't. You're always going to downplay the areas that you need. For me, I don't think he can be happy with what's at fullback. Surely, if he is, then he is. But I think he's just playing a poker face, and I'd be amazed if a fullback didn't come in during this window.
Oscar, you agree?
I'd be staggered.
I think 2. I think both right back and left back. Yeah, certainly right back. I think you can't look at the situation at the minute and think we've got a 17-year-old midfielder who's going to be a midfielder long term, and obviously Shacks, who, yeah, defensively he just struggled, didn't he, against Peterborough? There's no other word for it. He did struggle against their left winger. It was a tough
horrible
one.
thing to say.
No, it is what it is. You have to sort of say it for what it was, and I can't see us not signing the right back in that position. The fact that you're losing 2 right backs to not bring one in just seems crazy to me. But left back, I do genuinely think Daniel Farke massively rates Sam Barham. He's had him at 2 clubs now. He's played him week in, week out when he can do. Every single time Sam Barham's available, he plays, kind of thing. He is on number 1 left back. But are we going to get, 22 games to go? Are we going to get 22 games out of Sam Barham? He's injured now. So realistically, just Junior Firpo, it's the same scenario as Brownie said. It's not just about Firpo's performances, his injury record, his suspension record. Is he going to play 22 games on the bounce? And then if one of those are out, both of those are out, quite possible. Who's going to play left back then?
Isn't it? It's like a job share.
Brownie and Oscar, the thing is, and apologies for that, everybody, I'm going through a mass technical issue here. But
nice plant though on the side. That's a nice looking Monstera.
Yeah, thanks. But with regards to Jed Spence, when you guys were talking a little bit earlier on about, we'd hear in press conferences all the time, positionally with Daniel Farke talking about how he's he's not mastered the position yet. How can he with a straight face come out and talk about Junior Firpo being an option at left back and not discuss how bad he is positionally?
When you were playing hide and seek, then I was saying, because he got a bit of stick last week for saying that he wasn't panicking, this, that, and the other. As a manager in a press conference, you are not going to come out and show your cards saying, "Oh yeah, we're really struggling in this area. We need this. I'm panicking. We ain't got good at one." The players in that position at your club think, "What on earth? Am I not needed?" And 2, other clubs just raise the money for that position.
But he called Spence out. He said that post game, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, Spence. Did Spence ever really feel like? I think after that Sunderland game, it never really felt like Daniel Farke was fully having Spence. To be honest, I really don't.
But this is my counterpoint to the whole thing, actually.
But he's still his player.
He'd gone back in January very early. He knew for a few weeks he were going back. That hasn't just been sprung on in the last 2 days.
Brownie and Oscar on this. So this is the way I feel about it. I'm 85% with you guys on. All common sense says that you'll be able to look at the team who you've been lining up, their levels of experience, their performances they put in, and say, okay, we need reinforcements there. The only thing that gives me any pause here, this is that 15%. And I say this without indicting the players themselves, because Dan James has performed really, really well. Just in terms of lining up their skill sets together, you have to say Willie Gnonto probably, if beginning of the season, you'd say, if it weren't for some of the off-field stuff, Willie Gnonto's in the team. Same goes with a couple other positions. Daniel Farke does seem, there's a perception, I can't really validate this. This is a gut feeling. Some people might be surprised to hear me say that, but a gut feeling that Daniel Farke rates characters and whether he likes a player and the way they show up and conduct their business over player ability. And that's the only reason I would say he may look at a Jamie Shackleton who's going to play his socks off. He may look at an Archie Gray who at 17 has no issues playing out of position, whereas Jed Spence obviously didn't really appreciate it. May look at Sam Byram, who nobody gave a real serious look at, and say, these guys will run through a wall for me. I'll sacrifice some of the skill and ability. Maybe we don't need new players. So a small part of me says maybe he is thinking we don't need those reinforcements. And if that's the case, I'm alarmed.
I think he's playing a poker face. I'm going to say something that Oscar might not like.
Go for it.
It's not anything against Barcelona, is it?
No.
Oh yeah,
it's going to be another Jed Spence comment, and Oscar's going to die inside.
I had quite a few people at games slaughtering Spence, his attitude, and I couldn't really see it myself until it was pointed out to me. And then I thought, no, but it was class. It was class at Forest. It was team of the year. Since then, he's played 7 games for Spurs, 8 for Rennes. 4 games for Spurs and 8 for Rennes. That is it in 2 years.
They're not all starts either, are they, Brown? Some of them are sub-abs as well.
And only 7 games for us, and I think he started 2, 3. So in nearly 3 years of football, he's played under 15 games, and they've not even all been starts.
So why are we signing him?
But I think it's due to that year at Forest when he got in Team of the Year. He became available. It was a position that we needed. So we've took a hit on him. But in the last two and a half seasons, he's played he's had less than 10 starts of football. Neil Warnock, whether we love him or hate him, got rid of him for a reason.
Yeah, but Steve Cooper kept him for a reason. Like listen, I'm not saying there's no validity to what you're saying, Brownie. I agree. I just think that sometimes we use these arguments.
I'm not saying he's not a good footballer or anything. I'm just saying there has to be a reason why in the last 2.5 years he's only played 10 games of football and they're not even started.
No doubt.
Yeah, definitely.
No doubt. But remember the logic that was applied that some people, nobody here, I don't think. I think everybody was happy with the Ethan Ampadu signing. But remember when we signed Ethan Ampadu, there was a strange contingent in the fan base that was like, well, why did he keep getting sent out on loan? Or, he was in relegation teams consecutive seasons. Like, why do we want a player like that? Clearly, he couldn't break through at Chelsea. There was a problem. Now, the circumstances are different. I'm not holding them up as actual comparisons. I'm just stating it simply to say that there does seem to be, when it suits us, now all of a sudden I'm hearing, after years of how Charlie Cresswell is going to be our future captain, now I'm hearing people in our fan base say, well, Charlie Cresswell must be a bad egg because look what his dad's posted, as if that's really relevant. And Farke doesn't rate him. So obviously it was never going to work out. I just think it's easy to, in retrospect, to look for things to see things if we're looking for them, it clearly didn't work out. Farke didn't want him. So there's almost no point in continuing debate.
I don't know.
The question is, do we sign reinforcements?
I think it's a bit of what I'd say about Spence is, to be honest with you, Brownie, I agree with what you're saying. Is the proof is there, in terms of it's how many different managers since Forest, Conte, Ren, Farke, even before Conte, obviously, Warnock, as we mentioned already, there might well be something in that, in terms about Spence's attitude. But I also think tactically, I just don't think it worked really, in terms of Spence and the team. When he was at left back, yes, I know he's out of position, but it didn't look great, did it? It didn't look great. Him and Somerville, on paper, it should work really, really well, but they're both getting in each other's way.
Oscar, what? This is what baffles
my mind. I will just add one more thing on that.
It's like if we go January, it's like if we to go in and promise something with Conor Roberts, hypothetically, we go and get Conor Roberts or Nico Williams, and then because of our negligence in the window previously, we then say, by the way, Conor, by the way, Nico, what we're going to do is stick your left back for a little bit.
Of course.
What we're going to do is we'll judge you on 95% of your time that you were at Leeds United by your time at left back, and then the manager's going to drop you in a home game against Birmingham when you could have played right back, and he's picked a kid instead who's all of a sudden very well. I just think that the measuring stick with Jed Spence is, I sort of see what Gabe's saying. Really, it's like suddenly.
I'm going to jump in. I was all for the Jeds. I was buzzing with the Jed Spence. And this was before he even got set him back. His tracking back in games was nothing short of a disgrace. I never saw him break sweat when trying to get back into
Not against Sheffield Wednesday, where he saved our bacon for an entire result.
Wait, his first game for the club.
Yeah, but it's a great instance, isn't it? He's only played 8 games.
Can I just add?
I'd expect him to, I'm telling you what I see. I'd expect him to put a shift in on a debut. Away at West Brom, Sunderland, mate, great going forward. Ampadu spent most time at left back trying to cover him. He just took an age to get back.
Now, but is that the player that he is, Brownie? He's a wing back, isn't he? He's a wing back. He's a winger. I know it sounds daft calling him a winger. He's a fullback.
He's a fullback.
The analogy I'd use for Spence is a bit like, say, Gareth Southgate in England. The fact that Gareth Southgate doesn't like Trent Alexander-Arnold. In terms of going forward, he's by a mile England's best fullback going forward, no doubt about it. But he is, Jed Spence, your eyes don't lie to you. He is quite relaxed when it comes to defending. He's not someone like a Kyle Walker who's bombing back to get into position. He's not that kind of player. He does play the game. He wants, he's quite a relaxed kind of player. I'm not saying that's the worst thing in the world, but I think in terms of what Daniel Farke wants, I think he wants intensity from his fullbacks. I think there's no question about that at all. Archie Gray, tenacity. I think the other thing as well is when Spence did go to right back, against West Brom, I know it's only one game, but your eyes don't lie to you. It didn't work on that right hand side between him and Nonto at all. It looked.
I don't know why because he obviously got bags of ability. And I'm with Oscar, I'm with Gabe. I was buzzing with the signing when I saw it. I was absolutely over the moon. It's a position. Obviously, Ayling's getting older. I'm personally not a Shaq fan at right back. So it was a position that we really, really needed.
I absolutely would have kept Spence, by the way. No question about it.
You don't say, Oscar. You're the biggest Jed Spence
I can see why it's not worked out. I can see, if we can get someone like a Robertson who is going to defend a little bit more intensely, and the other things with Spence as well, just to add, I think he's a quality player. But it was, as Conor alluded to, he was a wing back at Forest. He didn't play in a back four. He didn't have to think about defending.
That's fair.
And Oscar, people saying, why didn't Forest sign him? That's the weirdest thing. There's a reason players go out on loan, and usually it's because they're on massive wages, or on top of that, their transfer fee at a club like Tottenham is overvalued for a club like Nottingham Forest. It's just really weird to hear these, I don't know where the art... We have we take it personal fan base that if something doesn't work out here, then we have to demonize these players as the worst bad eggs.
I don't think it's demonizing players at all.
You don't think our fan base does that whenever somebody leaves the club for one reason or another?
A lot of people do. I'm just talking solely about Jed Spence. For us to send him back at the end of January and not even have a replacement lined up.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
That screams.
That's why a small part of me, and I know we got to move on from this, but a small part of me thinks it's not even half of it. It's like 15% of me thinks that Farke looks at his guys and says, "These are my soldiers. I'm ready to go into the second half of the season with them."
It's interesting to see where he ends up. Does another English team take him?
Oh, Jed Spence. I think he's going to Genoa, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, there you go then.
Another thing to add,
why would no other English team take him?
Well, it's quite fast. I mean, maybe they were guaranteeing him playing time. I mean, there's a lot.
I think as well. Like a lot of the top teams, if he is to go championship wise, I mentioned Ipswich before, but they've got Clark there. You look at Southampton, they've got Kyle Walker-Peters there. Piroe, I think, has been slotting in at.
Christ.
He's going to absolutely lose his mind. Go on.
Is on the right side anyway. I'm just going through my MacBook at the minute, but yeah, on the right side, obviously they play with a back three, don't they, Leicester? But yeah, I think on that right side there's been a lot of dealings already done. So I don't really know where he'd have gone, to be honest, in the Championship, because I don't know if he's making it Premier League, to be honest, but who knows?
He's not a Leeds player anymore anyway. We
could be completely wrong, and it could have been Tottenham that called him back because they've got a deal in place to get money for him. Nobody will ever know, but it just didn't work.
So replacements then. Do we need a right back?
Yes. There is no question about it at all. We not just in terms of quality, in terms of numbers now. Yeah, we haven't got an actual natural. If Luke Ayling does go, there isn't a natural right back at the club. But just one last thing in terms of Daniel Farke. We have to remember he had Billy Gilmore at Norwich, and the choice between him and people like Tom Tribal and that lot, and he went with Tom Tribal. It's not totally unusual, this with Daniel Farke. In terms of you see where Gilmore is now. He's at Brighton. He's still quite well liked at Chelsea. I think there's another player as well. I can't quite remember who it was, but someone else at Norwich, similar kind of story. Where they got, I can't remember who it was now, but it will come to me. But it's not totally unusual, this with Daniel Farke. I think he's very much... I don't even know if it's so much attitude. I just think he wants a very specific profile at right back. I think he wants someone who can drop into like a free and just defend with intensity. And I think he wants his left back to be a little bit more attacking to allow Somerville to come inside. I think that's exactly what he wants. I don't think he's going to question... He's not going to...
He's not afraid of getting rid of people. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
The other one that springs to my mind at Norwich, Oscar, was Russell Martin, the Southampton manager. He had him as his captain, and then he went in and wasn't having him. He was club captain, and he changed that position. So Daniel Farke's not a person who's afraid to get rid of people if he doesn't want them. So, like Gabe said, he genuinely he might just fancy Byram.
And it's a business. It's not a sentimental business. It just better work.
But I just think he's playing a big put. Honestly, inside he can't be happy with them four fullbacks. He can't be.
Hope so. I hope it's not just one of those things where it's Byram's his boy and he brought him back on trial, so it's like his little project. I'm praying it's not that.
Let's hope.
Well, I mean, for me, Byram and Firpo have just got a job share. Like whenever one's available, they can play because the injury record is you can't get a consistent season out of either one of them.
It's like a kickabout in a hospital ward, though. Like,
but what if they both get injured at the same time? That's the issue. Then all of a sudden you're having to really, shuffle things around. Maybe put Pascal at left back. I don't know. Who else could go to left back?
Pascal's
then?
also hurt. We have to dip into the market.
That's
for
it.
defenders.
Yeah, we have to look at just the numbers now. But I do think at right back, I don't think he's even that bothered now about, in terms of attacking wise. I think he just wants someone who's just going to have a bit of tenacity and allow just James to just stay high up the pitch. I mean, that's all he wants. We're quite, I wouldn't say we're a full-on counter-attacking team, but he wants Dan James as high up the pitch as possible, and he just wants someone with that defensive mindset behind him. I think you've seen it. I think that Birmingham game as well. I'm not saying it's because Jed Spence came out of the team, but we did look. I thought as a team performance, it was our best performance in quite a while, other than Ipswich.
It screams of Nketiah, doesn't it? The Bamford and Nketiah scenario.
Do you think Piroe and Bamford's becoming the Nketiah and Bamford situation? Low key now a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be starting Piroe. I think he needs to. I'm getting a little bit.
Well, it was a big call, wasn't it? Though,
Go on, Conor. Go on.
Go on. Don't know if my mic's going to cut out, but it probably will. I'd go off on a mini rant.
There's a few people, just to close off the fullback thing before we get on to Bamford, there's a few people mentioning Dallas. A fit Dallas goes ahead of all four. But he's been out
3 years ago, maybe. He hasn't played in 2 years.
Exactly. He's been out for so long. You don't know what Dallas is going to come back.
William Gallas. Arsenal great.
But yeah, it's just obviously he's obviously still at the club and someone we haven't really mentioned. But I'll let you go.
Out of contract at the end of the season, so he's probably, if he is fit enough, he's surely going to want to play.
Yeah. I'll let you go back to talking about Bamford anyway, Conor. I was enjoying that.
Brownie's been looking forward to it all day.
Yeah, I will preface this with, I've said this on many streams, I don't think he's good enough, but he does give us a different option to play above a press, to go a little bit more route one. And we just do not have that option elsewhere on the pitch. And I think we're so predictable when it comes to Piroe and when it comes to Rutter on the pitch at the same time. They're too close. They play too close. It's not, you need someone to stretch the defence a little bit off the shoulder of the centre-back, in between the centre-backs. And Bamford, although I don't think he's good enough, listen, you can't take him out at the minute. You really can't.
Well, and obviously Oscar wasn't on the... when I mentioned it, we saw so much more from Rutter in that Birmingham game. It was his best game for ages, just because he was getting the ball deeper. Weirdly, with the striker, I mentioned it a few months ago, a Kiefer Moore type player, and he's obviously being branded about at the minute. So it's that ilk of a player, more especially away from home, where we don't seem to be as fluid and as frequently with the ball. Bamford's a no-brainer for me.
I've said this to Gabe. I'm a little bit worried that Piroe's a luxury player. I'm a little bit worried that when it's going well, he's there. And I'm worried at the minute that he's not a match winner. And you spend 16 million quid for me on a match winner. And I'm just looking
certainly
at
not
him
in this
at the
system,
minute.
is he, Conor?
No, but I am looking at him and thinking it's. I mean, someone said it to me before. He's paronymous, and I am looking at that at the minute. He's just completely out of games. Completely out. I'm talking.
He's got to adapt for this league team.
Oscar, I'm talking 40 to 45% of games. He's completely absent. You don't even know.
I agree. I do agree.
I think the timing of when we got Piroe was interesting. Before you go off on it, because I just think we bought Piroe. I'm not saying it was a panic signing. We didn't have a lot of players in that August period. We had Sinister wanting to go, Nonto wanting to go. We'd not seen Rutter really kick a ball for Leeds. Somerville, that was it. I think Leeds, new owners, had to go and make a big signing to get the fans on side.
I agree, yeah.
And would they, if it was now with the team, would they go and spend 16 million on Joe Piroe? And I'm not sure they would now.
Well,
but
Brownie too.
We needed it.
A scenario I want to posit to you. I've already spoken to Conor about this. I think we're all in agreement. Maybe you haven't heard Oscar's extended thoughts. I'm sure we will. But that Bamford should be in the team now, based on form and how Piroe has been anonymous for just about half, if not maybe more so. That being said, given his limited exposure, one of the best, if not the best finisher at the club, if we're in a playoff scenario and we're going 0-0 and it's the 70th minute, I would be delighted for Joel Piroe to come into the match for Patrick Bamford if it's not working, or to rotate those guys. But the reality is, and this is the very small window we're having to perceive Joel Piroe, we're not talking about him in his best position. We're talking about how we know Daniel Farke will deploy him, which is in a number 10 playmaker role, which is not what he is. And everybody can see when we had a small sample of him going pushed a little bit further up and Jorginho more withdrawn, it's been better. Whenever Jorginho has been put in that 10 position, regardless of whether it's Bamford or somebody else, he's been better. So if Daniel Farke is only going to play Piroe at the 10, I'd rather he not play him. I'd rather he play Patrick Bamford and Jorginho Rutter. But I'm happy about two things about this that happens. Well, it is. The first thing that could happen is we're going to have a great option off the bench. And the second thing is, if he scored 9 goals in half a season, even if he gets benched, and let's say we get promoted, loads of championship sides are going to want him. The guy can score goals and in the right system, even
what
in the
we've
wrong.
What we've got to remember, though, is, it's a bit, I think Brownie just mentioned Jed Spence. It reminds me of Rodrigo quite a lot. The first 2 years of Rodrigo, in terms of not being able to find him in the team, in terms of we've signed him, for big money, big reputation, but does he fit this team well?
Never a 9.
But what I'd say about Rodrigo is Rodrigo adapted to the Leeds team. It took a while to do it, but in that season we went down, to be fair, he got 15, 16 goals in one of the worst Leeds teams I've ever seen in my life, to be honest with you. In every single sense, he managed to adapt to that team. But Joel Piroe's got to do the same. And what biggest thing I say with Joel Piroe is he's got to remember he's not playing for Swansea anymore. The standards are totally different at Leeds. In terms of you have 1 or 2 games without scoring. And then listen, I'm not saying Joel Piroe's not fuming with himself, the last couple of weeks for not, performing and not getting the goals. But I think the biggest thing for me with Joel Piroe is he's never in the box. That's the biggest thing of he doesn't need to do the hard bits in terms of linking up play. You've got Rutter there, you've got Somerville there, 2 of the best forwards in the league. If Joel Piroe, a bit like Bamford, if you just stand in the box in this Leeds team as a striker, you're going to get 20 goals this season because you've got that level of creativity around you. You're going to get chances every game. Rutter will pick you out. Somerville will pick you out. And that's what Piroe's got to do. He's got to stop coming towards the ball and just stay in the box. I know it's not necessarily the type of player he is, but you've got to be able to adapt, a little bit. And I think if he does do that, I think he'll get tons of goals between now and the end of the season and can start number 9 for us. Yes, Bamford gives you more in the press, and I would start Bamford for the time being. No question about it. But I don't think it's a lot. I don't think Piroe's got to do a lot to get into this Leeds team. He can hit a ball well. He can attack the box. He just needs to stay in the box now and stop trying to link up play, basically, for me, and just do what he's good at. And that's finishing and putting the ball in the back of the net.
The only reason I likened it to Spence was obviously we didn't really see him in his proper position, Jed Spence. So he kind of got a bit of a hard time because he didn't really play his natural position. And I think the same can be labelled with Piroe. We're not really seeing him at his best, but are we really seeing him in his best position? I don't think we are. But like you say, Oscar, if he wants to be in the team, he's going to have to adapt to fit in it. Rather than having square pegs in round holes, just to play someone for the sake of it. If you've got a system, you need someone who can play that part of the system. If not, it's pointless.
The other thing as well is that Swansea, the reason I mentioned about Swansea as well, is that he was the main man at Swansea. No question about it. He was the person who was going to get Swansea goals. What was it, 23 and 25 goals he got. He has to remember now he's at Leeds. He's got other really good players around him. Players that are better than Joel Piroe. There's no shame in saying that. Crescencio Somerville, for me, is the best player in the league. Joel Piroe's got to kind of accept that now, that he isn't going to be the star man in this Leeds team. And that doesn't mean he's not a good player and he's not worth the money, but he's going to have to affect this Leeds team in a different way to how he did at Swansea. At Swansea, pretty much everything went through him at Swansea. This Leeds team, that's just not going to happen. When you've got a Rutter, a Somerville in your team, it's not going to happen in that way. So it's almost like, I'm not going to say ego, because it sounds like I'm having to go at Piroe on a personal level, but maybe, you can say, he just has to realise he's going to have to adapt his game to be effective for this Leeds team. This will sound like a crazy comparison, and the hate to use Barcelona kind of analogies in this lot. It's a bit like, it seems like a crazy comparison to make.
Maybe you should censor yourself if it's causing you so much anxiety.
Okay. No, I'm not comparing the quality. I'm not comparing the quality at all. Okay. Suarez at Liverpool and Suarez at Barcelona were 2 totally different players. Suarez at Liverpool, everything went through him. Suarez at Barcelona, he had to accept that Messi and Neymar were the quality players kind of thing. The players that were not that he wasn't a
He's just
quality
got to
player, the players
accept
that are going to
Bamford's
make
the
everything
boy. He's
happen.
got to accept Bamford is the man that is the player. He's got to
You have
adapt
to take a
to his
leaf out of Bamford's
surroundings.
book.
You've finally
I
given
think
Brownie an
that's
excuse to
what
say
this
Bamford's Lionel Messi. You
Yeah,
finally.
I'm not. No. All right,
Guys,
Rutter
let
and
me just
well, that's what I'm saying. I couldn't
let me
think of a
just
better comparison, but that,
Oscar.
yeah.
Oscar, let me just quickly read this out, mate, and you can carry on. Rutter is a 10, Pro is at a 9, and Bamford isn't reliable enough. Staying fit-wise and conversion rate-wise, desperately need a number 9 for me. Shout out Bobby, and yeah, I would agree.
Okay, here's an interesting one before you go on again in the comment. Which position do we need the most? Because some people say 9 and some people say right back. I'm at full back all day long. I would be more happier. I would be more happier going with Bamford and Piroe and sorting it between them two as long as we got fullbacks in. I'm not scared isn't the right word, but I'm worried about our fullbacks.
Same.
We seem to be getting.
If we get 1 or 2 injuries,
the amount of goals we've conceded that have been from our fullbacks just getting rinsed is, well, the majority of them, to be honest.
If not,
I'd
near post
say,
goals,
wouldn't you
right,
say
Brownie?
90% of the goals this season? I think Rodon and Strauch, it's a good job, really. If we're being honest, in terms of Melié's performances over the season, I think other than Byram, I don't think any of the other fullbacks have played anywhere near well enough in terms of what they can play. If it wasn't for Rodon and Strauch, would we be struggling a bit more defensively? A lot more defensively, could you say? I can't think of one goal this season where I can say Rodon or Struick, off the top of my head, where I can say that's come from the.
Sorry.
Doing it again.
Sorry, Struick.
He's doing it again.
I don't know. Just
what's happened to your brain?
Struick.
It's that Suarez and Piroe comparison. Is just absolute. The head's on Jupiter at the minute.
No, this happened before that. It was something like 4 or 5 weeks ago.
But no, the point is, those two at the back are absolutely rock solid. I think that's the best centre back pairing in the league, to be totally honest with you, and by a decent distance now, I'd say.
Oscar, can I just add to this before I just have to get this in, and I'm actually blown away. As of 3 minutes ago, PSG are very interested in signing Leeds United defender Diego Llorente on a permanent transfer, and that is Lequip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's happening then.
That's happening. Diego Llorente is off to PSG on a permanent transfer.
I want his agent. Is that Roma Leeds?
Is he the new Morata where everything
PSG's got?
money laundering through a player?
Jesus Christ. Anyway, carry on.
He's the new Morata. It's just money laundering through a player.
Oh my God.
Honestly, I reckon Llorente's agent would. He could get us games at, like, I don't know, Real Madrid. Llorente's agent, honestly, unreal.
He's 30 as well. When
you said PSG, I was thinking, is Conor going to say now that Pascal is getting linked to PSG again? That was what was going through my head. That was what I was thinking.
Yeah, when Pascal.
Hey, Conor, what's that French
going to PSG was what I was panicking. But no, Llorente, I'll take that all day long. I think Rodon understand that.
Rodon's been a Rolls Royce. Reminds me so much of the Ben White loan in terms of centre back, how well it's worked. They've bailed us out quite a few times.
Is it a slight worry now that it looks like potentially Strauch's going to be out for a period of time?
No, Ampadu got top scorer from centre back. Get him.
Are you going with that as a sort of like a replacement? And then obviously maybe at least we can switch up the midfield and maybe go. I mean, Gruev.
I think we've got to sign if we sign a right back, and then you can put. Are we going to sign a right back before Cardiff? Probably not. Realistically, we might do. You don't know. The way we move at the minute under the 49ers, we do things very quickly. Once we are linked, we do tend to get the job done.
At the weekend, he went with Ampadu when Cooper was sat on the bench doing nothing.
Yeah.
Is that him showing his hand that he'd rather have Ampadu there than Cooper?
Well, I'm not sure about I'm not sure about
Ampadu in the middle.
I think away at Cardiff,
I'm not saying I am. I'm just saying,
isn't it? Quite a physical game.
Available, with the players available, he went Ampadu and Cooper was sat there with
just get
with
another center
twiddling
half,
his thumbs.
or like I mean, the reality is you're taking one of the best central midfielders in the league, a position where he plays great, and saying, "Hey, go play pretty well in center half." And because we, bossed it against a lower division team, suddenly that's validated.
It's nuts. It's nuts when you look at it because we're still doing it.
It's
insane. Rutter out of position. You could argue Piroe out of position. Then you're looking at Ampadu out of position. You're looking at Byram out of position. Shackleton out of position. It's insanity.
What's next? Somerville at left back. I mean, like honestly.
Third choice keeper you can chuck in there as well. I mean, there's caveats all up. But I mean, that was a game where Ampadu has played what? Someone will correct me, but he must have played nearly every minute of this season. Yeah. That was a game where he didn't have to play, and he still chose to play him over Cooper. And he could have played Creswell. Creswell wasn't even in the squad.
Right.
What you thought? Obviously, I've got Gabe's thoughts on this, but Oscar and Brownie, I'm really interested to hear what your thoughts are on potentially Cresswell leaving the club. Do you think that's the right option?
Pretty similar to Spence, really. Personally, for me, I'd keep Cresswell at the club because I think as a third or fourth choice centre back at this level, I think he's absolutely fine. I think really, if I'm being honest, I'd start Cresswell at Cardiff if Pascal wasn't available. I think physically, you just look at Ampadu, Cooper there. I just think it's going to be a real battle, that kind of game. It's where I'd want Cresswell. It's going to be balls in the box, long balls, corners, set pieces, all that lot against Cardiff away from home. You kind of want someone like a Cresswell in the squad, as an option in those kind of games for me. Always rotation as well. The fact I think he can play on the right, he can play on the left of the back two, probably more so on the right. He's probably the closest thing in the squad we've got to a direct Rodon replacement. Nowhere near the same quality, of course, but in terms of like physically, I mean, he's the closest we've got. And I just think, I look at it outside of Rodon, we haven't really got the most physical options at centre half, have we, if we're being honest, without Cresswell. But having caveated all that, I think same as Spence, it's all about who comes in to replace him. If we do bring in a centre back, I think, being linked with different names in that lot, it depends who we bring in to replace him, because I think we'd have to surely replace Cresswell if he is to go. And maybe it's for the best. If he's not Daniel Farke's cup of tea, halfway through a season where we've had so many injuries at the back, maybe it's just better to move on
against
and move
Peterborough.
Someone else
Can't
in.
get in against Peterborough. Can't get named
in
the squad. There's no way
not getting the squad is a message. Whether we like it or not, whether we link it to the Richard Cresswell tweet or Instagram post, whatever it was. Whether it's linked to that or not, I don't know. But the message was there, clear message. The fact that Cresswell wasn't in that squad against Peterborough.
I think
Chris Metham got mentioned. Yeah.
I think he's been hard done by, to be honest. I think whenever he's played for us, he's done well. He came on against West Ham in the Premier League. I thought he handled Mikel Antonio. He handled him. He came on away at Wolves, did a good job. He even came on this season against Cardiff when Cooper got injured during the first game of the season, and he was striding out with the ball. I think he's
Brownie, two-thirds of the season. I mean, he had a little bit of a niggle and dip out of form at Millwall, but 2/3 of the season there, they absolutely loved him. And you are looking at the Millwall. Obviously, it's a very different style of play, but
look at Millwall now, though, where they are in the table. Then compared to what they are now, they're in the playoffs, weren't they? Or just missed out in the end. Did they?
They missed out on the final. They missed out on the final day. They got beat at home to Blackburn. If they'd have beat Blackburn at home, they'd have been in the playoffs. So that's how close.
Now they're about 17th, 18th.
Yeah,
it's a big drop off.
He's played most of the season for them. So I do. I think we need a centre back with Cresswell. So if he was to go, I think we massively need another one. And I think it was Oscar at the start of the show mentioned how many players will be leaving the club at the end of the season. Unless we pay money for Rodon, he's leaving as well. So I'm not panicking about this transfer window, but there's a lot of players leaving at the end of this season. A lot of players out of contract.
Hell of a lot.
Tons.
And it doesn't feel like we've got a lot of cover in a lot of positions. Anyway, the top end of the pitch, I think we're all right. Defensively, and if it's been like this for a few years now for me, defensively, we're just one injury away from a crisis all the time.
I always just feel with it. I don't know what it is exactly. I don't know what it is. Sometimes I feel like with Leeds, it's like for like instead of bolstering the pack. And I feel we've got to bolster the pack at some point, to get that assurance at the back, to get that quality, that depth, but also long-term options for the Premier League. We need to start this building process now. As we saw, next summer, we're not just going to, invest in all these players, dependent on if we stayed in the Championship or if we've gone up to the Premier League. It's going to be a big rebuilding process. So for me, they've got to start it now. They've got to believe in some individuals who can fit these profiles. The left-back thing is an utter sham. It's an utter sham what we are doing with that position. I cannot believe on the 1st of January, when we've known about this for ages, because, listen, right-back's been a bit up in the air with all the Spence stuff. Left-back, what are we doing here still?
It's literally a derelict house owned by the council at the end of the road that you're wondering hasn't been plowed down yet. And you're like, oh, there's some dodgy stuff happening, threatening the neighborhood there. You wonder when they're finally going to do something about it. Yeah. I don't know why this position continues to be a haunted house for us. It's insane. It's gone across two different not two. Is it 3 different ownership regimes?
It's probably about 5 or 6, to be honest. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's outrageous, isn't it?
The last left back aside from Taylor that I can remember in my repertoire is Stephen Craney.
Ali Alioski.
Brownie once again, not a left back. Not a left back.
Brownie just wanted to sing Ali Alioski.
Neither was Stephen Craney on quality.
Craney, yeah, an actual left footer.
We had Barry Douglas as well, but he
didn't really, though, did we?
Didn't
really. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it just, when you say it out loud, our best left back is a right back. Sam Byram's been the best fullback for me this season, and he's not a left back. But if you're going for promotion, which obviously we are, and I do still feel we'll get promoted, but you're taking one hell of a gamble to do that without a specific left back in play.
Brownie, do you know what I said as well? What I was really confused with what he said, and obviously anything Farke seems to say, apart from the 5%ers, really, everybody just buys into what he says. But what really frustrated me is he came out and, listen, we can talk about him almost masking the fact that Leeds might be doing stuff behind the scenes. He said it'd only be emergency, it'd only be reactive if we need it, and saw something. I thought it was me then, absolutely, what me.
Oscar, get that logo off this channel.
Yeah, we're not free advertising.
What are you doing?
Jesus, look at this. Get off. when you back, my friend. Thanks, Gabe. Wouldn't have even realised that then.
Absolute sabotage, that.
Jesus Christ, it's not free advertising.
That's brilliant for him.
Absolutely. He's just done that on purpose, hasn't he?
Oh, what a guy.
What can I do? How do you do that? I'll do it. How do you do it?
Brownie fan TV, just Brownie's face.
So what? I'm trying to figure out where I was then. But yeah, I think it's. I think with the he mentioned the word Brownie. I want to get your thoughts on this. He said we've got balance. Balance. Where's the balance? I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know if he's completely lost the plot in that press conference, but I understand what he's saying in terms of recruitment, Brownie. But balance at fullbacks. It's the complete opposite of what we've got.
He's just batting away press conference questions for me. But the one thing that I will say for this new ownership is everything we've done has been quiet. Yeah. We've not had the big parade of clues and everything before we've signed players. It's just been bang on the day, we're signing this player, and it's happened. So for me, all the signings have gone under the radar and then just gone bang, announced, which I kind of like. I know people in the media, it's not great. But I personally, I'm old school. I'd prefer to be able to read teletext or see facts and see who signed who. That's just me. But that's what I'm
the morning paper.
It's just batting down any media question, because whatever he says, he can't really win. If he says, no, we haven't got the cover, we need bodies in, then it sounds desperate. If he says we're okay, then people will slaughter him for saying, what do you mean we're okay? So
you could always say we're not going to talk publicly about what we're going to do in the transfer market, obviously.
Yeah, but that's a boring answer, though, Gabe.
No, it's not. It's a great answer.
No, to be honest, it's one of those, like, I'm not really bothered what Farke says in the press. I really, it's all about the results for me, performances on the pitch. And
what if he said Oscar Marriott is a bell end? What would you do then?
Well, he'd be right, wouldn't he? I can't deny the truth, can I? You know what I mean?
Harsh.
Harsh, but sometimes it's truth hurts, doesn't it? Sometimes, you know.
I was just going to say, surely that'd bother you. But yeah.
Here's a little question. To move away from Oscar being a bell end, right? Here's a question for you. How many players do you think will sign this window? I'm thinking.
Two.
Yeah, I was going to say two. Yeah.
2.
Wow, we've agreed. Come on, Gabe. How many?
I think
2 or 3. I've said it numbers of weeks now. 2 or 3 max.
Right, well, lads, let's quickly get on to the Cardiff game. Shout out Richard Roth, a new member of the channel as well. Cracking name, Richard Roth, alliteration. So I just want to get your thoughts on the as we wrap up just the game at the weekend. I think it's going to be the first real test. I know Peterborough was a test, but I mean Birmingham it was a pub side, wasn't it? But I feel like this is going to be the first proper test. You know, another away game. It's going to be a tough one, this, but you know, I'm still backing Leeds to get the job done. I'm going to go with a 3-1 win. Brownie, what about you?
Cagey. I think it'd be cagey. I think we might win by the odd goal. 2-1.
2-1.
I don't think it'd be ultra convincing. But I think we'll just get over the line. Yeah. A draw wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, to be honest. But I think we'll just edge it.
Yeah, my old man, we were doing a bit of a discussion earlier on, and he was saying he just feels this is going to be a 2-2. He thinks it's going to be a draw. Yeah, and as Paul says, this is going to make Gabe's toes curl, because I know he doesn't like us basing anything on previous things and superstition, but our record in Cardiff is abysmal.
It's a wonderful place to go. I say
Jesus Christ, you've said someone in the UK is nice.
It's in Wales, isn't it? It's not in England, but
in the UK.
I'm just drawing the distinction that it's in Wales, not in England. 2-1 Leeds United. I'd say we have to win matches like this. We don't deserve to go up. So,
Oscar.
2-1, but these are the ones we've got to start winning. These kind of away games, nasty away games. We haven't won enough of these this season. We haven't performed enough in these games this season, but I don't really care about the performance. Just it's one of those. Even if it's a win by the odd goal, it goes in off someone's knob end. I really, really don't care. To be honest, I absolutely don't care. Just got to win the game and just hope that Southampton probably going to win their game. I can't remember who it is which we've got now, but we just have to hope one of those goes for us, and we've got to just keep little by little closing that gap now. But we can't. This is one of those games. I'm not saying it's absolute season over if we don't win, but we can't keep going at these games.
It's a bad sign
away,
if you lose it. Agreed.
Preston away. We can't. Stoke away. However many you want to list. West Brom away. Can't keep losing games like this. We've got to start, matching the home form with the away form now. Absolutely.
I think a lot of the teams around us are very winnable games this weekend as well. I think a lot of them have got home games, haven't they? So we need to capitalise.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
All right, guys, we'll leave it there. Well, thanks so much, all of you, for joining. This has been a bumper episode. And then thank you, Gabe, for taking the reins, and Brownie for taking the reins while I was in disarray. And I'll have to sort this out now. I'm not sure what's going on. But make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Shout out to all you new members. Oscar, thanks so much for joining as well, pal. Really appreciate that. And we'll be back very soon with another episode of The Debrief. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you soon. Cheers.